Go live. Oh, okay. That should be working now.
Working?
I think so. I think we're back. Oh, wait.
Oh.
all right.
Yep.
I think we're
Must
back.
be my phone. I got the notification. Right. Yeah.
All right.
I see it. Can turn my thing down.
Is there? I guess that's gonna mean there's a new link, though. Possibly. All right. So I guess I'm gonna have to put a part 2 in the title of this one or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I've been having problems with my computer crashing, so it's a possibility it may happen again while we're streaming.
Okay.
My apologies.
Okay.
Let me close this. Close this. Pop out the chat again. I guess we're gonna have to tweet out or put the new link. So I'm gonna guess there's a new link now. Let me see. Post it in here. Why is this not working?
I got it.
I wanted to see if it shows up different now. Yeah, because mine says part 2. Oh, tweet it out. Come on back. Goddamn computer crash. Alright, so where were we now? Let's see. I don't know. It restarted the thing, but I don't know if it's in the right spot. We're gonna have to figure out where we were at.
Okay.
Where we at? Oh, it stopped again? Oh no, wait, what's
this?
Oh no, it didn't. It's just slowed down. And I need to then I just need to display it on the stream. Close this. This doesn't work. It's not showing anything, but it's gonna soon. Alright, but yeah, this debate is not working out. I think Sean Head need to come to the realization that maybe she's not meant for debates. That's just not her forte. She's not quick on her feet. She might need a lot of time to think, I guess, of what her reasoning is behind her arguments.
There's also a demand for it. It's an entire system that's broken, you could argue, and I don't think that just killing billionaires would fix anything. If we were to kill billionaires, someone else would just take the place.
No, but we already
I don't think that either. But I'm just saying, like, it's the rhetoric that they're spreading isn't. It's not the same as the alt-right thing you're talking about. So, like, with the alt-right, I hate the punching up and punching down.
Yeah, that's what she said. Right? I think we're more like at 12.
So the alt-right will do like racist.
Yeah, maybe a little more ahead.
Soap can't make edgy memes. Like, what is your argument? Like, I'm actually not understanding.
We're already at this. He can't make edgy memes. That's not his argument. Let me lower also. This may help. Stream quality is kind of high that I'm sending you, and you don't even need it to be right. You just
certain forms of media, even you could
Mm-hmm.
argue, that can lead to the normalization of harmful and extremist ideas. For example, there's a real. Hold on, can I explain? There's a really interesting study where they took women and they showed these women movies about a stalker boyfriend, and then they were found that it doesn't have to be multi-billionaires. You said it yourself that it's a class struggle. It could simply just be someone who's
around here.
It normalizes violent extremism at the end of the day. And also it's just that, like, I walked away from the far right, and I don't like seeing the left engage in the same kind of bullshit. There are better ways that you can advocate for your cause.
but
well, it doesn't really matter though because you said you're fine with either.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So would you like?
But there's still a hypocrisy
Would
there
you
that
see?
she's
Could you
not
see how like
addressing. Make her
Holocaust
address the
denialism jokes
hypocrisy.
could lead to the normalization of like the idea that maybe the Holocaust was.
And she is having their own hypocrisy herself
Sure.
within that. Like he
So-
should address that.
What, like
but
why?
this joke, the guillotine joke, is more on the level of the joke where it's like, come and take it with the gun. Because it's against, the government. It's against the people
It's
in charge
okay
or
because
whatever.
it's against the government.
The fucking
that
Holocaust,
is
what
punching
is
up,
that? That's
though,
like making fun of victims, survivors. That's
Mhm.
not... That's
Yeah,
a
we did
different
heard this,
thing.
too.
Like, different thing. There's such different things,
No, you're
though.
giving me
One
you're
is-
giving me
she kept
examples
saying
of
there
people
were different
actually
things,
pushing
but they're
forward
actually kind
radical
of like
ideas under the
not-
guise of it's just a meme, it's
So-
just a joke, bro.
Mhm.
Okay, but what is wrong with... Okay, I
Yeah,
don't
see?
understand what is wrong about, like,
Yeah, she's not getting
joking
it.
about killing
Yeah.
the most powerful people in the country.
But then
I
you
told
have to
you
say-
why.
there's
Because
a
it can
huge
normalize
difference.
Punching
violent
up, that's why she
extremism,
doesn't
and also
understand
like
what's wrong
Towards
with it,
people
'cause
who
it's punching
aren't
up.
the most powerful people in the country, like
it doesn't.
that's what
Would you be like? Yeah,
But
so
you
what if
just
they're
said
more
you don't
powerful?
care which
Again,
way
we
it's
want to look at the
punching.
French Revolution and how
That's
that began. That began with punching up, and it eventually led to so much, like 17,000 people getting
the
killed.
people want to punch. They're either going to punch down or they're
Yeah,
going to
so
punch
she's
up.
okay
Oh
with
my
it.
rather
God.
than
Oh, I
punch
get it.
up.
We have
That's-
heard all this already.
I
like,
disagree
what
with
do
that.
you-
I think that I think I have more.
Fucking
Push people
snowflakes
away?
Then who cares? Okay, I have a lot of right wingers in my audience, and I talked to them about this, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that's fine. You could joke about like killing the rich, like eat the rich, whatever. It's fine. Like everyone, like most people, are fine with this level of bunching up because
It's fine.
like,
That's most
it's
people
almost-
aren't
it's just-
consistent, so I don't care if most people are fine with it.
Mhm.
What comes down to is if you're on the left, do not become a different version of a
Yeah,
human from
we
people
heard
on
all
the
of
right.
actually.
This
God,
work
we were
don't
way far ahead.
think
We're
that we
almost
should.
done with
For
this.
me,
I thought we were
it's
closer
you gotta
to the
understand
middle.
too. My goal at the end of the day
Yeah,
is
I thought
to
it
pull
was-
people
I
away from
didn't know it was
extremism.
that
I don't want
far.
people to be extreme
think
left
it's
or
far.
extreme right. I want people to be rational centrists, enlightened centrists. That's right.
Enlightened
Um,
centrists.
And I think that just using jokes like this and humor like this, not only does it push people away, it's just kind of unfortunate because it seems really inconsistent. We like the right talks so much about the way that the alt-right was used.
I get his point, but this is what he's like. He's basically making the arguments of the hypocrisy without just straight saying it's hypocritical to criticize this one side for doing the same thing that you're doing, and you're okay with one
Yeah.
side. You're literally admitting your bias to team sports. Basically, you're literally saying, it's okay because it's my side doing it, when the other side does it, it's that's not okay. But I'm okay with joking either way, up or down. Like, you're being super inconsistent, like in your stance here.
Isn't this
me,
kind of
everything
similar to when Vosh had to be explained by Destiny why he wasn't? It's not good to
Yeah,
lie.
yeah, and it's just being really inconsistent in your ideology, and you complain. And in that, he even said there's a part where Vosh gets like upset, and he says, "Well, the right does, is manipulating all the time." So he's basically saying it justifies us doing it because they're doing it, or criticize them doing it. We're not hypocrites for doing it because we're doing it for a good cause or something. It just doesn't work.
else,
Yeah.
and then now they're doing the
It's super
exact same
inconsistent, I
thing.
don't get it.
Well, I like using edgy and funny memes. I think they're
I like
fun
using edgy and
and-
funny memes too, but we're not talking about just edgy and funny memes. We're talking about edgy and funny memes that are specifically violent in nature and normalize and soften the idea of violence towards individuals.
okay. I don't honestly don't know how to argue this. It's just like I'm fine with these jokes, and I think
That's the problem.
if anything, they're
Then there's
more
nothing to argue.
like you say you don't want people uniting over this, but I think it's.
But then
fucking
don't
cool
say
I didn't say
it's
that
bad
either.
when
It's-
people
it's
joke
fine
about
if
the other things.
people-
We all hate the same people. I don't know.
So basically, like, I have some studies here and some pretty solid historical and empirical.
But what he's saying is, yeah, we all hate the same people, but I don't want to murder those people. Like, I don't think that that's a
It's not the same
solution
thing,
or
yeah.
a good idea or anything moral to do at all in any way.
evidence to support my claim, but I feel like your claim is just you like memes and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what else could you say though? Like, again, this is baby's
could take the
first joke.
Okay.
Who cares?
All right.
I don't.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think what else I wanted
there's
to
really
say,
not
though.
much you can
It's
argue
like,
here.
again, people just want to punch up.
Unless somebody...
Like, we
he's
punch
not
down in
saying
our
the
careers, right? And we
hypocrisy
still
thing.
sometimes punch down when we make fun of, like, random Twitter people
I'm
and
not
stuff.
talking about, again, I'm not talking about just punching up and punching down. I'm talking
just...
about violence specifically. Memes that are, again, normalize violent ideology.
It's
radical
so
ideology.
Unrealistic, though.
Why? If it was able to work with the alt-right, why couldn't it work in this area also?
Yeah, it's funny is she's saying it's so unrealistic, but the meme itself is literally invoking a real moment in history. That's what he said at the beginning. He was like, but this is based on the French Revolution. This literally happened in history. We have an example in history of this happening where the revolution, rose up and started killing all the people, the high up, the monarchs and shit. And then even other peasants as well who were against, killing these people wholesale and shit.
What, we're gonna fucking rise up and kill the rich people?
There are people that, yes, there are people that unironically believe this.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. You know this, Shill.
Okay, that's a bad thing to you?
Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
You're doing it, though.
God.
You're just you're proving my point.
Okay.
No, you're proving my point right now because now... I thought it was just a meme.
She's very bad at this. She is so bad. She needs to not debate.
Leave it to Shu to make Hunter look good.
Her brain is not set up for this. For like quick thinking on your feet. Like she's just trying to make arguments here, but none of them are good, and they're all very inconsistent. She hasn't thought this out well enough, Or she came on not knowing what the argument was, and came in completely not sure, hadn't even thought of that aspect. I'm like,
However, you're actually kind of okay with it. You've memed yourself into the radical position, Shu.
I'm just saying, if we all took a guillotine all together, the left and right held hands, and wheeled a guillotine to Jeff Bezos' mansion, I'm just saying it would be kind of cool. He doesn't even have to come out of the mansion. I'm just saying it would be some good symbolism. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
No, okay, I'm serious.
Oh my God.
I'm serious. I don't think there's anything wrong with joking about these things, and I don't know how to argue because, like,
you can't because you're inconsistent
I don't know.
about it. That's why you don't know how to argue. You don't know how to.
It's coming to a peak, and I feel
and you don't have a good reason.
And you
why.
think that maybe guillotining them is what's necessary.
These people are villains. They're destroying our country. They're destroying
Why do you think they're
world.
destroying the country? Do you think that there's a demand?
She sounds, what's funny? That what she's saying right now, she sounds exactly like a racist person talking about, like, certain groups of people, right? So they're destroying our country, they're blah, blah, blah. They're villains,
like,
they're raping our daughters.
I have so many questions. Like,
yeah, she's literally sounding like a racist right now talking about groups of people.
For some of the goods that they're providing.
Funny that Hunter doesn't call her out on that. It's like, man, that sounds exactly like racist rhetoric. I think the Nazis might have said exactly that about Jews.
On the way of providing those goods, they're also destroying the world?
Like plastics and stuff?
Like, do you believe... I'm getting at something deeper here. Which
they
is
always
like
look at the negative, but these people have brought tons of jobs to people, tons of economic wealth to areas and to cities, to people's lives, made inventions that made people's lives a million times better.
A broken system where maybe the individuals aren't necessarily who you should be mad at, but rather the system. Don't we have this conversation about police?
Yes. So capitalism.
I'm not.
Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If you, sorry. Yeah, if you wanna, like, be upset about something, then why not rage against the system and not like actually the individuals? Like, you could argue that they themselves are products of that system.
Okay.
She didn't get that point. I mean, he made a good argument there too. That's also a good argument.
Try to argue against this. So just it's an anti-capitalist meme though. That's what this is. It is criticizing the system.
It's not though.
Is it not?
Because the way in the way that it's criticizing the system, it's
saying to murder people who are successful.
I disagree with that. I think that we've seen this happen with the alt-right, and I think that we should. I see that I'm against my audience on this one too. My audience doesn't agree with this either. But you know what? I take consistency really.
I'm actually surprised because I feel like Hunter actually did have a good job, do a good job in this, but I think it's because Shu was so bad at this that he looks good at it.
Seriously?
Because even some arguments weren't exactly the best arguments he was giving. And like I was saying, not being direct and just saying there's a hypocrisy here, you know. And not being direct on that is kind of bad. But she's so bad that he seems to be doing fantastic. And his arguments make sense. They're coherent, you know. He has historical data to at least try to back up somewhat his claims and stuff.
Yeah.
This is a like major...
And all Juna's got is, I don't like those people. That's basically her argument. I don't like them, and I don't care that it brings any harm to them. It's not going to, and I don't care if it does.
I'm still wondering if she actually believes that, or if she's just like if she's just being weird about it for some reason. I don't know.
It sounds very extreme.
Major inconsistency that I'm seeing on the left, but
and that's kind of his point. This is the things people talk about looking out for on the right, but yet people on the left are acting the same way. But people on the left are okay with it because they don't care about the people that they hate. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you can say the same thing about the right. Then they don't care about the people they hate. So when you're making your argument, so it's like, how are you being any different? This is literally horseshoe theory that she's not realizing. She's horseshoeing. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and give like a closing statement.
I don't know. Like I don't know if it makes me sound edgy and radical or whatever, but I'm on the opinion of the people in charge of this country should fear the people. I think that's a good thing. I think
that's okay.
The government should.
That's a reverse tyranny and shit. Like, that's funny. I believe in reverse tyranny. I believe instead of them being tyrants to us, we should be tyrants to them. So it's like whenever we put people in charge and they mess up, we have to like murder them. Is that like what she's saying? We have to execute them and then put someone else in charge, and nobody will want to be in charge, right? Because they're like, damn, any slight fuck up and we die. Like,
agree with you completely.
I'm not.
Yeah. Or people start advocating our deaths. Like, shit.
I agree with you. I don't think that needs to be done by memeing about murdering people.
Okay.
I mean, you can make the same argument about the president, even if you wanted.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just.
So
think
she's okay with people joking about murdering the president, which I'm okay with it. But if she is, like, just say that, you know. Don't say, well, one's punching up and one's punching down. I don't know why she even brought that up. Like, it's kind of her argument, but she wants to make it not be her argument. But it is what is her argument. Like, it's so weird.
Sort of joke policing. It's you're worried about optics because
you
come from the right.
He is kind of joke policing. He's making sense. Oh, it's funny. She said you're worried about optics, and I know you come from the right. When it's the far left people who are super worried about optics, like Vosh and Serfs. They're super optics people, and they constantly talk about optics.
And you've seen...
I'm not worried about optics. I've barely made an optics argument this entire time. I think there's an argument to be made...
He did bring it up, but that wasn't the crux of his argument. But he did bring up the optics thing a couple times.
On the basis of optics, but I don't think that's the strongest argument here. I think the strongest argument is...
He was saying the optics part hurt your cause, and also is just a bad strategy in general, right? Like, you don't want to look bad and have your cause look bad.
Ultimately, the same way that the alt-right was able to hijack internet irony and memes in order to radicalize people and push extremist ideologies, I see no reason why people on the left are somehow above this. I think that they're just as susceptible, and I think we should be honest with ourselves and consistent. But
if the far right got into power because of their edgy memes, what is the worst that would happen? A lot, right?
With the timeless
What is the worst that can happen? But it's not about... This is the problem. They're having different arguments. She's having the argument of outcome. This is like that argument we were watching with Destiny against that Lisa chick that is Sean's friend. And they couldn't... they were basically having two different arguments because they couldn't agree on what systemic racism was. Like, one was saying that it was systemic racism meant that the policies are made specifically to be racist, like with the intention to have to deal with race or whatever, and Destiny was saying no, what people say systemic racism is when the outcomes have racial disparities, but it doesn't necessarily have to have the intention of being racist. Couldn't agree with that. That's basically what they're doing. Like, she's doing the argument of the outcome doesn't matter. Like, no matter how radical we get against the people that are so far above us, it doesn't matter because it'll never reach them, you know? So it's like the outcome doesn't matter. So then we can act anyway, behave and talk any way we want about them, because there's no negative outcomes from it, because they're untouchable, you know. But when you do it in reverse and you're doing it about people that can be hurt in the real world and are very touchable, then that's bad. So she's worried about outcomes. She doesn't care about anything else but outcomes. He's talking about the moral and philosophical implications of this, and keeping, you know, philosophically consistent and not being a hypocrite. She's being a hypocrite. But she's saying it's okay to be a hypocrite in this situation because there's no outcome. There's no negative outcome from being a hypocrite in this situation. Where he's like, now it just hurts your cause in general because you're being a hypocrite. You know, there's some sort of disingenuousness in this, right?
That's not even that. Like, we could talk about that.
Okay.
Sure, we can talk about that.
If the far left got in the power, what would happen?
I don't know. Who knows? If we see from history, they might try to establish communism, and then that would probably fail. Who fucking knows? I don't. All right.
Probably establish communism, and that would fail. Yeah, well, I don't think Hunter's not
a
communist.
Fighting a little bit, but
right.
I appreciate
I
your
like the
content.
fighting
It's better
a
than
little
it's
bit.
ever been, and anyone who says otherwise is lying.
I
Bullshit.
Thank you.
Well, maybe it's better than it ever was because it was never really very good.
I wish I'd brought this up because I see a lot of people in chat that disagree with me, saying like, we gotta punch up, lol, all that kind of shit. But I wanted to talk about this too. This is a really interesting study that goes over how humor can be useful in resistance to a form of oppression. However, it's useful specifically in non-violent resistance to oppression. I saw somebody in chat a second ago say, yeah, we're just going to have a peaceful revolution, lol. No, you fucking LARPer. There is no revolution that's going to happen.
I'm going to have to say Hunter's right here. He's right.
That's the LARP right there.
How did Hunter
end
up
crystal
right
clear.
in this? That's
I don't have a problem with edgy memes.
So insane.
I don't have a problem with people punching up. I don't have a problem with people joking about Jeff Bezos or rich people or anything else, okay? I make jokes about rich people and Jeff Bezos too. I do have a problem memeing, when, let's be honest, for fucking half these people, it's not really a meme, memeing about killing Jeff Bezos. In my mind, this would be similar.
Although, the part I disagree with him is, I really don't have a problem with it. Like, I don't care. On either side, you make jokes about whatever. Like, I don't give a shit. I'm not a joke police. He literally is joke policing. But he had his joke policing down, you know, like he knew the arguments to his joke policing, and she didn't know the arguments to go against his joke policing, so she and in fact just made herself seem inconsistent and not sure of what her ideas are or what her stance is. Where he had a stance, he made sense, he showed a hypocrisy on one side, and you know, and all these different things. But I don't agree with him on like joke policing, because I don't really care that people joke. I don't care if people punching up. I don't care if they punching down. A joke is a joke. I get it.
Joking about going out and killing cops. Well, I just have a problem with the system of policing.
Joking about killing cops. People joke about killing cops all the time. I'm sure some people do get radicalized by that. And people who already hate cops and want them to die are also.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe.
But he made his points. He knew what he was talking about. I enjoyed that. She One Head was really bad on that. God. I don't know what she was thinking. John Sullivan. No, I don't even. I think I've heard of Short Fat Otaku, but I'm not sure who that is. Says he's heard my voice. Nah, I've never worked with that dude. I'm not sure who he is. And then hold on, let me do. Maybe we'll watch a little bit of SJW9000, because he's got that one's kind of long, and we're not gonna watch the whole thing. That guy is not worth watching for a long time. We'll just skip to the part where he's talking about Sean and Nick Fuentes. I think he thinks Sean is like endorsing Nick Fuentes. Like Sean likes Nick Fuentes. Like Sean does not like. Sean was on Tim Pool arguing with Tim Pool that Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist, right? Like, wasn't he arguing? Yeah. And Tim Pool was like, "Oh, you really think he is?" And he was like, "Yeah, he says he is." Like, you know,
how do these guys get this stuff so wrong? My God, every time.
Yeah, these guys get it so wrong. I remember the Surfs actually took that clip from Tim Pool and we're saying that Tim Pool and Actual Justice Warrior support, endorse Nick Fuentes. They said that, endorse Nick Fuentes. And the clip he posts himself, you hear it, and the first thing Sean says in the clip is, I don't like Nick Fuentes, like straight up says it. I don't like Nick Fuentes. I think he's a white supremacist. Tim Pool saying, you really think so? And he's like, he says he is. He's like, have you not listened to him? Like he admits it himself.
And then they interpret that as, oh, he likes.
Yeah, so it's like, and then he actually had his video titled that, and I guess enough people tweeted at him because he posted it out, and enough people bothered him that he went back and edited the title to just say Tim Pool endorses Nick Fuentes. It doesn't say Actual Justice Warrior anymore. But it's the same clip. But yeah, I think it's kind of funny. All right, where's? Do it somewhere around here. Are you still? You can still see it, right? Okay. Yeah. Put it back on the. I see. Look at Sean.
Who is up there talking about
tell
communism?
Rogan grew a beard. Who is up about communism? Where? What? Oh, what is this? Hold on. Why is this bugging out? Look at his face. This is having trouble loading.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I should refresh it. Oh, wait, that might have been it. That might be good. Nope. That's how garbage his video is that I can't even run it.
Computer's like, are you sure about
this.
that?
Yeah.
Are you sure you want to play that?
Are you sure about this?
About their fucking racism. Holy shit.
No,
like,
what racism?
To make this argument that's talking about communism. Name.
Yeah, why is this? Is it his video? Like, why is this happening?
Yeah, that's weird because the other one's played.
Yeah, the other one was playing just fine. Like, is it his video that's like had problems with loading? Or let me close Twitter. I have less stuff open. Weird. Nah, I'm running slow or something. Yeah, I'm having trouble playing this.
One person that is allowed to.
I'm gonna do something. Give me a second. Let me copy this. And let me. We'll start that in a second, peoples. Give me a second. I'm gonna refresh my browser. Grant, the guy has less subs than me, and I haven't made content in 5 years. Yeah, that is true. Okay. Browser, open my browser again. Yeah. He grew a beard now, though. Makes him extra cool. Alright, I'm opening this browser again. I got my life stuff. Let me pop this out again. Alright. And then there you go. Back to open that video again. Hopefully it doesn't load slow, but it seems to be working fine.
It is so bad.
Oh my god. Okay.
Allowed to speak at any Democratic
Well, yeah, I think it's just his video. I'm doing it now, and I'm not even screen sharing it with you, so it shouldn't be like my computer shouldn't be running slow. But I think his video is just like running really slow on me. For some reason, it has problems loading, and it's at 360.
That's weird.
It just doesn't want to load right. Like, what is going on? I don't know. Well, I have it paused somewhere. Let's see how well it works. I'll try to play it at low quality to you. Let's see how that works. Alright. Oh, the window capture's not set. Properties. Wait a minute. Coming right up, guys. Is that it? Is this it? No. There you go. Alright, here we go.
It's like we're in a position where nobody cares. So what's interesting is Fuentes was banned. Fuentes showed up to the event. So I asked him specifically about his ban. This is somebody who is very demonized in the right wing in general. People think he's an extremist. People think he's the worst person ever. I think he's a troll with edgy humor and without discretion in what he says. Personally, I think he's facetious. Right. I think he just says things.
All right, so oh god, this shit's freezing up again. So, but he's basically saying he doesn't believe Nick Fuentes is what everybody says he is. So I guess this guy's like saying, I don't think Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist. I think he says a bunch of crazy shit just to say crazy shit, you know. He's gonna twist that into something
to get a rile out of people.
I mean, there's a part of it is that, but I mean, like Fuentes is a white nationalist. Like
yeah.
Like,
see, so Sean is saying it straight up.
Now,
he is what now what?
1 point for honesty.
Why is that a point? He's just saying
he's gonna tank it. Oh, he's gonna tank any goodwill I'm about to give him right now.
Term to
you never give him any goodwill. What are you talking about? You didn't give him goodwill from the beginning, even in any part of your conversation with him or anytime you've ever interacted with Sean. He's never given him any goodwill.
Attack everybody on the right wing and all that, but it is true with him, and he doesn't hide it. But like, the fact is that the conservatives get rid of him. They send security to throw him out of any of these events or whatever. And anybody on the far left, if you deny any of the many communist genocides across the country, if you blame the United States for those genocides, they're welcome in their tent. And
who exactly are you referring to right now, Sean? Who is at any DNC sponsored event that's talking about communism? Name one person that is allowed to speak at any Democratic Party.
I bet he could.
event, and I'm not talking about some shit that the squad did. I'm not talking about
some
the
shit
Democratic Party.
That's the Democratic Party. No, you're wrong.
Event.
Wrong.
Who is up there talking about communism or shilling for socialism or denying the deaths caused by Stalin or any kind of shit like that? Who is doing this?
I mean, you got
name.
Maybe it's not DNC sponsored, but you got Hassan Piker, who was representing Democrats at Politicon, arguing against Charlie Kirk, who was representing Republicans at Politicon, you know, and he says that kind of stuff.
One person.
And they argued about communism. He was arguing for communism at Politicon.
On the far left, that is being allowed to speak at a DNC conference.
Who's the other one? The mayor of Michigan. Well, he's from Detroit in that area, right? She's kind of communist too.
Fuck out of here with this shit. So we're getting there. We're getting there because now he's laying the groundwork. Because what he did was he admitted that Nick Fuentes is white.
It's nothing to admit. He's saying what Nick Fuentes says about himself. There's no admitting. Like, saying is admitting as if it's like something hidden, you know? Like, it's not hidden. That's what he just said. He's like, no, he says it himself that that's what he is.
Nationalist. And then he put in that big but.
He didn't put any but. There was 0 buts on that. Wrong.
No,
there was no but on that. He's talking about something else now. He's like, yeah, no, he's a white nationalist, and then goes to talk about how conservative. See, the part that he's missing here, the context of this is that CPAC or whatever conference that was promoting itself as the anti-cancel culture conference, right? And Nick Fuentes made a point to go there because they actually had nobody or barely anybody who was canceled speaking at the event. Like, most of the people who were being the invited speakers were all people who weren't even canceled. And they're promoting it as a anti-cancel culture thing. So Nick Fuentes shows up, who's like one of the most canceled people, you know, even on the right, and they kick him out. And that was his point. Like, they don't even have people who were canceled there, you know. And I showed up, I would have been the only person there who's actually been canceled speaking there, yeah. And it's hypocritical for them to even come out with a thing to promote themselves as being anti-cancel culture, but then cancel someone, you know? Like, if you're going to do that, just don't promote yourself as that kind of thing. Don't be a hypocrite about it, you know?
The Democrats let the far left at their events. So that follows that we should also let...
That's not what he said, though. He's pointing out a hypocrisy on both sides. He's making it seem like Sean is justifying Nick Fuentes being there, or saying they should let Nick Fuentes talk. What Sean is saying is that there's a hypocrisy here. That they're saying they're anti-cancel culture, but then not allowing people who are canceled to speak there, you know, and actually canceling someone, you know. And he's making it seem like Sean is promoting Nick Fuentes to speak at their events. He never said that.
I'm burying Lee. Let him do it.
Nick Fuentes, who's a kid, like he's 20-something years old.
22 or 21, yeah.
That is true.
And he's thrown out, like, they go through all the different extremes, and he has energy behind him. Like, if you see the video of him marching through CPAC, he has a lot of young kids with him and all that, and it's
honestly those kids in that video of him marching through CPAC with the groypers, like, in 3 years, their entire political, like, ideology could be completely different, and it wouldn't surprise me. Like they're young enough to where they're so malleable, they could be anything in the next 5 years. Like, if they become liberals or even fucking tankies in the next 2 years, it wouldn't surprise me. Like kids at that age, including even, you know, people like you, Archery, no offense, are young and impressionable enough to where you get them around the right environment and around the right kind of people, and have them be
we understand the concept
at a certain
of how
level of
people
susceptibility to influence.
Yeah, we get it. That's how people join gangs.
Some of these kids are all over the fucking place.
It's interesting how conservatives are so...
That's kind of the point Sean was making, though, is that they're kids and we're taking them overly serious, you know, because they're kids and they're idiots, and they'll probably not believe in the same things in a couple of years.
To the left.
But they have a lot of energy. That's what he's saying.
In that they're, like, getting rid of him, they're getting rid of anybody that they seem to believe is vaguely associated with him.
Sean, shouldn't your argument be we shouldn't be associating with people like Nick Fuentes because he's a fucking white nationalist?
No, because if you're anti-cancel culture, that is canceling someone for their ideas, right? So that's hypocritical. So then the point would be to either not be anti-cancel culture, or at least have it be to a certain degree, but you can't promote yourself as an anti-cancel culture event for conservatives and then deny some conservatives based on their ideas, because you're literally doing what you're saying you're against, right? That's the hypocrisy of it. That's what they're talking about. That's what this whole thing they were talking about was about. Was how they wouldn't let Nick Fuentes in. And Nick Fuentes wasn't even there to speak. Nick Fuentes was there as a customer. He bought tickets. You know, him and his fans bought tickets and went to the event as customers.
Nothing that conservatives could possibly do at a private conservative...
it's not private. CPAC is public. You can buy tickets and go to it. That was the whole point, was Nick Fuentes bought tickets publicly and entered into the public event. It's not a private event. It isn't. You don't have to just be conservatives In fact, Elijah had a video before this where he was walking down with some far left dude who was at the event, who was there like as a journalist at the event to document what was going on there, you know. So it's not a private event, you know. It's weird to say that it is. It's not a private event.
Convention.
That's kind of the point. How are you anti-cancel culture and then you're not allowing specific people to come to your event as customers? Imagine that. They're spending their money and buying a ticket to your event and you're kicking them out, saying you're anti-cancel culture. It's one thing, I understand it's not really canceling somebody if you just don't invite them to speak to your event, but to literally ban them from the event as a customer, you know, that's a different thing. That's another level on top of that. That is a canceling.
Would appease the left. They don't invite Nick Fuentes because they don't want to be that guy.
No, that
damn mask off about their fucking racism. Holy shit.
Not really. I don't think so. I think they would tolerate Nick Fuentes and just argue against him if the left didn't make such a huge fuss about people like that. You know, I don't think they would cancel him, at least in the very least. They would just talk against them and be like, no, somebody like that's ridiculous, whatever. But the right isn't really concerned about banning people like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't really care. They think that you can argue against that and that people aren't going to be radicalized by it if you can argue against it.
Like, to make this argument, to say that, like, oh, well, they're just trying to appease the left. If not, we would just let
they're trying to reduce. It's not really appease the left. They're trying to reduce the backlash from the left. Because then, let's say CPAC invites, well, not invites, but say they let Nick Fuentes there and you have the publicity of Nick Fuentes being there. You know what's going to happen is the left is going to make a huge media storm, and all over the media is going to be like, blah, blah, but, you know, white supremacists, you know, involved, go to CPAC and this and that, you know. And that's what's going to happen. So what he means by appease the left is he's saying to keep the media storm away, you know, because it's just going to give them a bad name in the eyes of like the left and everybody else. On the right, people don't care as much. This is the whole argument with the left and the right is the left is, this is why I was talking about with you on Head, where I'm like, the left is more about optics. The right is more about wanting to discuss things and, you know, and rationalize things, where the left is more about, you know, the way things look and stuff. Like, you don't want Nick Fuentes around because you don't want to be around somebody who thinks such radical things. You don't want to be involved with that. You don't want anybody to affiliate you with that. I can understand that concept, but also I think you should let people like that speak, because I think when you push them away, then they create echo chambers, right? And that's when they start really getting even more radical. But if you hear them out and make arguments against them and try to argue against them, then, you know, now you can change their audience, change them, maybe, you know, change other people who might be on the fence.
Fuentes right on in because they have far leftists at their event, so why can't we have?
That's not what he said, though. He didn't say why can't we. He's saying it's hypocritical, is what he's saying.
I am really disappointing you, Sean. Like, I have never seen you this mask off before.
This mask off. What mask? Like, what? Sean doesn't have a mask.
Sean
he says everything straight up. It's funny because Sean says everything straight up, and then these guys swear that he's like revealing something about himself or exposing himself somehow. But yet nothing he said is wrong or reveals anything that he wouldn't have said any other time. Like, you know, everything he says here is consistent with who he's always been.
Yeah.
Before, like, you usually do a really good fucking job of pretending that you're, you know, anything. Oh, I'm just an enlightened centrist.
What?
You know?
Sean doesn't say he's a centrist. Sean has never said he was a centrist. He never said he was an enlightened centrist. That's something Sean has never. I've never even heard that phrase come out of Sean's mouth before. Sean says he's a libertarian. That's what he says. He is more moderate on the right. He's a moderate right winger, but practically. But I've never heard him call himself a centrist ever. That's fucking weird.
No,
and he literally says that his content is for conservatives and libertarians.
Center-right libertarian, you know, good old Shawnee boy. I just care.
How about so why did he call him? He just contradicted himself. You heard that? He says that Sean calls himself an enlightened centrist, and then he says, "I'm just Sean. I'm just a right-wing conservative." Blah blah. And what? Like, what do you mean? How are you saying that he's saying he's both of those things? He's not.
Usually do a really good fucking job of pretending.
Wow, what a fuck!
You're, I'm just an enlightened centrist. Center-right libertarian.
And now a center-right libertarian. That's not an enlightened centrist. Now you're saying he's center-right,
which is what it is. Truth and justice, facts and logic, and all that.
Facts and logic. Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Holy shit! I see through your bullshit.
And he philosophically dunked on what he was saying and doesn't even realize it. Like, he's doing the philosophical breakdown of being a hypocrite, and this guy doesn't even understand the argument. This is how way smarter this conversation is than this dude. That he doesn't understand that this conversation is way above his head, and he doesn't get it. So he thinks Sean is like promoting the idea of Nick Fuentes talking in this place. What Sean is doing is saying that CPAC is kind of being hypocritical by saying they're an anti-cancel culture event and then banning somebody from coming in as a customer.
Yeah.
It says that's hypocritical. You shouldn't run with that. You shouldn't advertise yourself as that if you're not gonna be, if you're not gonna do that.
But for all that work to build up all that credibility, and then to come on here and just be like,
what credibility? What is he talking about?
Yeah, man. He's a white nationalist now. And also, remember, he never actually said that was bad.
Yeah, he doesn't need to say it's bad. He doesn't need to say it's bad. We all understand the implications of it.
He never said that was a negative thing, that Nick was a white
nationalist.
It's implied.
No, but it's funny for Sean and for somebody like me, I don't really give a shit about it being positive or negative. Like, I don't care. I don't see it as anything but this dumb kid who has ideas, and that's it. Like, I don't see it as positive or negative. I don't give a shit. I don't agree with him. I'll argue the points against them. But I don't really see it as a positive or negative thing. I just don't give a shit. It's like, basically, he's just some dumb kid on the internet.
He just said that he was, but because far left radicals are apparent.
That's not what he said. Again, that was never his argument. He's just pointing out the hypocrisy.
At DNC conferences, we should also let these racist ass crazies in our shit.
No, you let them in if your whole point is to be against cancel culture.
Because fuck it, why not? Right? Because integrity doesn't matter to me.
And at the same time, they're letting in like a salon reporter or people who actively try to get rid of other people and tie you to somebody like him.
Well, yeah, and so I asked him, because he just got banned from Twitter, on what he thought about being like deplatformed.
Oh my god.
And basically, the funny thing is, it was America Uncanceled. Yeah. Somebody was...
Yeah, that's what they named the event, America Uncanceled. Like, and it was a whole thing of like, we're promoting people who were canceled and stuff. But meanwhile, Nick Fuentes shows up as a customer and they kick him out.
Literally canceled. And then the conference then kicked him out. And this is what he had to say. Let's play that video.
Oh, man. Nick, can you comment on being banned from Twitter and why it happened?
Twitter is gay. And they banned me because the SPLC and the ADL wrote a hit piece about me on the same day.
Did they give you a reason? Did they give you a reason?
Yeah, they said it was hate speech.
What exactly did you say? What line?
Nothing. They didn't give me a tweet even.
They just banned you?
I used hate speech, so I was banned. So I'm banned on every mainstream social media platform.
Are you going away now that you've been banned off of these social media platforms?
I will never go away. All right,
But see, you just made him more resolute. You just made him more resolute and gave him more power. Because now it's like, oh, see, they're trying to keep me down. They want to shut me up. And then all these people are going to be like, there must be something. He must be right about something. So if they're trying to keep him down and they shut him out of all these social medias, It's just a mistake. Just let him tweet a stupid shit and let everybody make fun of it. And call him a fucking racist asshole.
This shit, because I'm sorry, man. Like, he seems like too wily to be sober. Like, there's just something about it.
What?
You think so? I just think he's a spazzy kid.
America
this is so cringe. Oh, this is so cringe.
Thoughts?
This is so cringe. He's like, hey guys, right before as we exit, let's start chanting again. To seem like we got a lot of hype and momentum as we're going out.
Make it seem like it. It kind of do, though. I mean, they're not a big deal, but they kind of do have some hype.
He does have energy with them, and it was weird that he wasn't banned from Twitter before
it's amazing it wasn't
Saturday. But the fact that he put together an event like across the street, you didn't attend it, but I went over to see that. He put together an event and packed a conference room across the street in a couple of hours after being banned. And it is weird. He had a presentation where he showed that nobody at CPAC had been banned from anything, any of the speakers except for President Trump.
Again.
See, so Sean makes a point how, well, first off, he's calling it weird, like the whole thing with Nick Fuentes. He's saying the whole energy and how these people follow him and how he was able to pack a hotel. He's saying it's weird. And then making the point of the hypocrisy, pointing it out, that he made a point to say that nobody actually speaking there was actually canceled. So now let's hear what he's got to say about that.
We are trying so hard to rehabilitate Nick Fuentes.
Where did he get that? Where did he get that Sean was trying to rehabilitate anybody? Where did he get that from? This is what this guy does. He just pulls shit out of his ass. He says things that nobody...
got such a hate boner for Sean.
Sean never even made any insinuation on rehabilitating or changing Nick Fuentes in any way. All he's doing is pointing out what was going on, like that he was able to pack this event, he was able to make a speech and point out how this place was, like he's there's philosophically he's not wrong. Like he's right on that.
Right
they
now,
didn't have anybody there. What's the problem?
What are you even talking about?
That's why I say, like, you can't even defend someone's argument that you don't like or you're for them. You know what I'm saying? Like Sean's defending an argument of somebody that he doesn't like, that he's against, but he hears an argument, it's true, and he's making a statement saying that his argument was correct. And SJW9000 guy takes that as this is a promotion of Nick Fuentes and that Sean now wants, is trying to rehabilitate and change Nick Fuentes to be, a better right winger or whatever. Like,
right now, Sean.
Or that somehow this means Sean's not a moderate right winger, that it means he's extreme or something.
It doesn't matter. Him being kicked off of social media, him not being able to use PayPal or whatever the fuck, he is political poison. He is an openly.
But what does that mean? But see, this is the bad argument. This is how Shoe on Head fails in her arguments, because this is an argument of emotion. It isn't an argument of logic. You aren't trying to be logically consistent. You're just making an argument from emotion. And he's saying now it doesn't matter to ever argue anything that has to do with Nick Fuentes. Even if Nick Fuentes makes an argument that's right, don't talk about him making an argument that was right, because he's political poison, because he's this thing. So it's an ad hom. He's basically saying, why are you guys not ad homing Nick Fuentes' arguments? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what he's saying. He's doing a stream and he's flipping out that they aren't sitting here and just making ad homs to Nick Fuentes' points and saying, well, he made this point and that was a correct point. And they're like, what? How could he? Why didn't you say he made this point? That was but he's a racist, so don't listen to that point. That's what you should have said. Like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Weird emotional argument. Doesn't make. I don't know.
Racist, so anti-Semitic.
Yes, we know all those things about that, and you can state those things and still say that they had correct arguments on certain things. Even there's the same thing we'd always say, is that a broken clock is right twice a day. Like every once in a while, I always hated Bill O'Reilly, but every once in a while, Bill O'Reilly would make a video that or do a thing on Fox News, and I'd see the clip, and I'd be like, oh, he's right. You know what I'm saying? PragerU. You see me with PragerU. I hate PragerU. I retweet them all the time and dunk on their arguments and the things they say. But every once in a while, they'll put out that one thing that I'm like, oh yeah, they're totally right on that. And I'll even tweet that out like, damn, I hate agreeing with PragerU, but they're totally right on this, I can admit that people I don't like and disagree with 90% of the time sometimes make a valid argument. But for this guy and people like this, you can never say that somebody made a valid argument that's on the other side. You can never say that. And if you do, that means you're promoting that person.
Yeah. You've buckled.
Yeah, and that
You
means that
think
you
that
like
you're,
that
like,
person and
buckled.
you're promoting them. And at the beginning of this, he already said, "Yeah, this guy's a white supremacist."
He's all of the things, like the whole bingo card.
Okay, but how is that an argument to anything they just said? Like, all you're doing is ad homing Nick Fuentes. Like, that doesn't help at all, like, in this situation, and doesn't add anything to this conversation.
There is nothing that you are supposed to be in your right mind sitting there going like, yeah, man, you know, well, they got motherfuckers like Caitlyn Jenner and shit up there, and ain't nobody even canceled her, but they canceled Nick Fuentes, and they won't even let my man.
But who said cancel Caitlyn Jenner? Nobody said anything about canceling Caitlyn Jenner. Sean wouldn't want to cancel Caitlyn Jenner. In fact, Sean is anti-cancel culture. He doesn't want to cancel anyone from the event. He wants everyone to be able to come and talk at the event, and would never be for them banning someone from the event. That's the opposite of what Sean would want. That's why I'm saying that this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He just makes things up.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
He didn't do anything wrong. It was a
so disappointed,
completely
man.
logical argument that he made.
It's almost like watching like an Olympic contender who's like practiced for years and trained to get to that point, and then they have their moment in the sun, and then they go to do their double backflip, vault kick, whatever the fuck, over the pole, and they like shatter both their knees on the landing. It's like,
look at this guy. They talk about smaller government, less regulations, but yet want the government to regulate big tech. I've never heard Sean talk about the government regulating big tech. I've never heard about that. Never heard him mention that, like, ever.
Working on his YouTube channel, pretending that, you know, you don't have an agenda and you're just looking for the facts and the truth and justice and all this shit. And then
his agenda is to run his business.
Be like, yeah, Nick Fuentes is a racist and all that, but I mean, what standards do we really have here anyway, right?
That, look, he made the argument here and he doesn't understand that. He's saying, what standards do we really have here, right? Sean isn't talking about the standards they should be setting. Sean is talking about the standards they themselves say they have but don't follow. That's the whole point of what Sean's doing. That's the whole crux of Sean's argument is, yes, CPAC is being hypocritical here because they're saying they're America uncanceled, but yet they're canceling somebody. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, why even market yourself? That's the whole point. That's what he's saying. What really are the standards here? That's the question, is what are the standards? If you're saying you have one set of standards and then you're acting a different way, then you're obviously acting hypocritical, right? Regardless of who it is. That part doesn't even matter.
You know, like, sure, he said some anti-Semitic stuff, but they kicked him off of Twitter, man. Isn't this about, you know, people being canceled? We can't find...
Exactly. How does he... Now he's saying the argument, but he doesn't understand it? How is he repeating it now and not understanding it?
Find a space for Nick Fuentes here?
Yes, because you are promoting yourself as a place that doesn't cancel people. Don't promote yourself as that if you're not going to stand by that. That's the whole point.
I
don't, what didn't he get from that? I don't understand that. He even repeated it. Like, yeah. What didn't you understand, bro? Where is the problem with that?
So, like, his point, like, whether you like him or not, is 100% accurate.
Yes, his point is 100% accurate, whether you like him or not. That's what he's saying.
CPAC America Uncanceled, they banned a guy who just got canceled, and they have nobody except for the former president that was actually canceled.
Right, and that's what's funny. Is like, it's saying the people that are canceled, they don't even...
That's... How did they not... what is he not getting? They just... That was perfectly explained by Sean, which was exactly what he said. Was that, why are you promoting yourself as a place that's against cancel culture and then canceling somebody, not having anybody there?
Yeah. And this is why we continue to lose, because it's like, it's one thing to just say, like you said, you go, well, Nick's a white nationalist, and that's fine. You can have... Anyone can have a straight up opinion or a fact or anything about
Sean said earlier, it's not an opinion. He says he's a white nationalist.
Somebody. But it's like, some people won't even say his name. They're so afraid of him. And it's like, this is why you lose, because you're setting it up that like, oh, the left hates this guy. It's like, look, These are very young kids in the front. The guy to the left.
You guys are also supposed to hate him. You say
you're
against racism.
No, the thing is,
that's not the.
It's not that they should hate him. They just don't care about him. They see him as a joke, which is what everybody should do. The fact that these people take this guy so seriously and look at him so dangerously makes him more powerful. You know what I'm saying? And gives him more power, because now everybody's seeing him as this big danger. They see him as this powerful thing. Whereas right-wingers look at him as a joke, just like they look at Alex Jones. They look at Alex Jones as a joke. You know what I'm saying? They don't give them any seriousness or credence, you know? And they argue against them. When they say crazy shit, they don't mind arguing against them. Why not, you know? Like, that's how they settle things.
You say the Democrats are the real racists. You have an open...
When does Sean say the Democrats are the real racists? When has Sean said that? That's some made-up shit, too.
Only racist 20-something-year-old marching through here calling...
You think I'm a Democrat? You think Sean calls me a racist? Like, Sean knows me pretty well. He doesn't call me a racist. I'm a Democrat, like, so obviously.
Of a groiper, like...
of him is probably a minor, like 15.
But Elijah said before, this is why he's already skipping something. Elijah said before that he thinks it's all an act. He said he's a troll. He doesn't really believe these things. So his argument, again, is him not listening to what they're saying. He's saying, oh, aren't you supposed to hate him because he's a racist, blah, blah. Elijah doesn't believe he's those things. You know what I'm saying? Elijah already said that earlier. Sean does. Sean doesn't hate him, but Sean just gives him no credence. He doesn't, you know, he's a joke to him. He's like, whatever, you know, he's just some kid. Who cares?
8 or 16
and in
years
fact, Sean would probably think it's better to just let him talk and people dunk on him and shit.
old, okay? These are young dudes.
Oh, yeah, that kid right there, he's literally
than giving him power.
A child, yes.
A little guy,
100%.
a guy in a Hawaiian shirt, his white boy summer outfit. Yeah. He's chilling. It's like, that's what you're threatened by. Like this group threatens you.
This is where he doesn't get it. That's exactly the point. It's like they don't feel threatened by this guy. Like they don't see the
if you're threatened by that, you're just a
yeah, and they're kids.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you go over there, they have the same like lefty reporters that are.
I think they give them more power and
the
credence
crowd
by
and all that.
Canceling
like so,
them
it's not only that
shoving them aside.
He's like canceled. It's that if you show up to listen to him, they try to get your life ruined on top of that. It's like really interesting. And again, he's a kid. Like people change. I knew a guy who
and there's the point. Exactly right. Sean is saying people change. He's saying I don't agree with him, but I don't think he should be canceled. I don't think his life should be ruined because people change. In a couple of years he might soften his views and be different, you know. But if we keep pushing him and keep shoving him in a corner, you know what I'm saying? Things get, you know, as you see him now, he's using that to promote himself. I'm canceled from all this mainstream social media, you know, blah blah blah, and, you know, and he uses that as a way to rile his people up. You know, you're giving him the fuel.
To ruin your life because you chose to publicly attend a white nationalist speaking event. Like, I mean. Bro, if you willingly choose to go to the Klan rally, don't be mad when people take pictures of you at the fucking Klan rally. Like, don't go if you don't want to be.
But then how do you know? But see, this is some bullshit, because then how do you know what they're saying if we don't have people going and listening to what they're saying? This is why people argue against canceling people, because what you're doing is you're giving them the ability to secretly discuss things. You know what I'm saying? Now you're even saying you shame people who even don't agree with them, who just want to see what they're talking about and keep an eye on them. You openly shame those people, you're saying. So you literally want nobody to oversee these people. You want them to go into little enclaves and have an echo chamber and only discuss things with themselves and have no idea what they're talking about, which is really dumb. You should be keeping an eye on people instead. This is why it's okay to keep them in public, because then we can see what they're saying and we can keep an eye on these people as opposed to keeping them hidden. Now, you know, before, when Nick Fuentes was on Twitter, you had millions of people watching everything he said. You know what I'm saying? They know what he's saying, you know. Now you don't, and now guess who the only people who know what he's saying are the people who follow him. Now only his fans see what he's saying, you know. And now we can't keep an eye. I mean, you literally can, but he doesn't want people to keep an eye on them. He says if you go and keep an eye on what they're saying, and someone takes a picture of you, you should be canceled, and you should know that you're going to be canceled, and therefore that's a preventative measure for people to go and check out what they're saying to keep an eye on them. Ridiculous. Like, this is such bad logic. Terrible logic. And that's the problem with cancel culture, is you're making people more powerful
associated with it, like
and giving them the ability to talk without us keeping an eye on them.
They're trying to tie me to this, like I'm a part of this or something.
He never complained about that. Sean never said anybody was trying to tie him to this or anything.
You went there on your own accord. No one made you. It was at a separate.
He hasn't made any argument about that. He's just saying that that's not a good idea to shame people for going to see him because you want to keep an eye on what they're saying.
Event across the street. He left CPAC.
Yeah, he left to go see what Nick Fuentes did because he wanted to understand what was going on. You know, journalists do this, right? Like,
Dallas for to go across the street to go to the Nick Fuentes.
He went to CPAC not for the convention, but to speak there, just in case you didn't know that. Like,
event at another
hotel.
He
didn't speak at the CPAC run, right? That was Better Discourse.
Yeah,
but he was invited, I remember.
Okay.
Talked to Fuentes years ago.
But he's not complaining about that for himself. What he's saying is that it's a bad tactic. Like, that's the problem, is this guy comes at this and doesn't understand these conversations. That's why I say these conversations are far above his head. Like, I'm listening to this and I understand everything these two guys are talking about, and he doesn't. He totally makes the wrong arguments and doesn't get what perspective these guys enter this conversation from.
He's just looking for where Sean is gonna slip or something like that. He's trying to pin something on Sean, but it's not what it.
But there's the thing where he says he's an activist. This guy right here, he's a wannabe activist. Like, he does his stream to change people's minds, to do this, to do that. Sean does this thing as his job, but Sean's not an activist. Like, he's not out there trying to change the world. You know what I'm saying? And so this guy is manipulative. You know, like, these people who are activists do things by any means necessary. So he thinks everybody operates under this mentality. So when Sean is arguing and saying, you know, Nick Fuentes made a good point here when he said this guy's saying, never say something like that because that looks bad and that hurts the cause. You know, Sean doesn't have a cause. So he's like, I don't care. You know, I'm here to talk the truth. That's all I'm here to talk about. And he even said that, Sean who pretends to be all about the truth. And that's exactly the perspective this is coming from. And he's not understanding it. But that's exactly the perspective this is coming from. This is a philosophical discussion. It's about what's true as opposed to what's good or what's bad or what we like or what we don't like. You know, he's not talking about what he likes or he doesn't like or what he wants.
Oh yeah, that's what I said to FBI. My job is
what's happening, what is true.
So much easier when they do this kind of shit because I don't have to convince you that they're.
I mean,
that they hold the position.
For somebody saying you don't have to convince them, you're sure trying really hard to twist their words into saying things that they're not saying at all.
Positions that they hold.
That's weird.
This is the mindset,
because I'm not compelled at all.
That this is what they're doing.
What is wrong with having the position that you shouldn't be a hypocrite? What's wrong with that position? If you're going to, he's saying this is the position they hold. It's like, so you're complaining that his position is if you're going to advertise yourself as an anti-cancer culture event, you should probably have some people who have been canceled talking at the event, you know, and you probably shouldn't ban people who come as customers who have been canceled, and keep some sort of consistency. Yeah, keep some sort of consistency in your ethics. If you want to not invite Nick Fuentes, that's fine. He's not saying that they couldn't ban him. What he's saying is, if you're going to kick him out and not promote yourself as a anti-cancel culture event because you're being a hypocrite with your standards there. Like, how do you think not understand
because
that?
They're just saying it. Like, I don't
dog
even
whistling.
have
There he goes.
To work that hard. They're just doing it. I'm kind of disappointed.
He's actually working really hard. He doesn't even realize it. Like,
he was just obsessed with crypto.
Like the seditionists at the 1/6. You know what's funny is Sean's against that happening, right? Documenting their crimes on social media.
Cryptocurrency, and he was actually anti-President Trump way back in the day because he thought Trump was like pushing too close to like racist rhetoric and all that. So people change over time, and if we're gonna have a big tent party,
yeah, he made a good point there too. That Nick Fuentes' politics were different when he first came on the internet. He was mostly about cryptocurrency, and he was anti-Trump, and then all of a sudden he switched and became super pro-Trump. You know?
And we're going to be anti-cancellation, even with people that we disagree with.
There you go. Sean just said it. If we're going to be anti-cancellation,
people that we don't like, then like he has to be included in that because them banning him, and it goes for
that is dead-on argument. He's gonna twist it completely. What?
I feel so vindicated. I feel so fucking vindicated.
Vindicated on what? How is that a change of stance? That's been his position the whole time. That's just called being logically and philosophically consistent. You know, if you're going to say you're anti-cancel culture, why would you cancel somebody, right? Like, this is like exactly like this. Like, this is like saying you're in a group who's anti-abortion, but yet all these people in this group who are anti-abortion, you keep advocating for them to get abortions. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Like, you know, or there's like a specific person that you're like, oh, you should get an abortion. You know, at the event, we're not going to let you in unless you get an abortion, even though we're an anti-abortion event. Like, what? That's kind of the thing. That's what he's calling out. It's like, be consistent with your messaging, you know, and your stances. If you show
at any point,
that's the problem with some of these people in the far left, is they don't understand the concept that being a hypocrite shows that your stance means nothing. You know, it shows that like you're not good at, you haven't thought deep enough into your stance, and you don't have like, you're not logically consistent. You can't critically think properly, you know, and there's a cognitive dissonance there somewhere.
Fucking AJW sycophants, all your bullshit about like, oh, I literally spoke.
Oh, he just cut himself there.
Actual Justice Warrior and his friends, and I think it was.
And all of this was. Oh, he's bringing me up.
Whatever that.
Oh my god.
Fucking loser. And he was trying to explain to me how
and all of this is totally
I'm having
consistent.
A Dunning-Kruger.
Oh yeah, he's. You know, it's funny is because this whole video he's been having a Dunning-Kruger moment where this has been. He thinks he understands what's happening, and he thinks he can. Analyze this conversation that's happening, but it's so far above his head, and he doesn't even realize how far above this philosophically this argument is above his head, that he thinks he knows what's going on, but he doesn't at all, you know. And he's having a Dunning-Kruger moment right now, which this is super hilarious irony that he's bringing up that I said he was having a Dunning-Kruger moment in the past while still having one now. That's so funny.
It's like he's like, I know you're watching, but before you do, don't you dare.
Oh my god, totally busted. He just, how funny is that he's bringing up that? It's great because he's showing his audience exactly what's happening. Yeah, you're having a Dunning-Kruger moment, bro. That's exactly what's going on.
Effect moment regarding Sean and his intentions.
Oh yeah.
I don't really know him and know what he really feels in his heart, and
I didn't say anything about how he feels in his heart. I'm just saying that you're straw-manning him, which is exactly what he's doing now. He's doing it this whole time. He's straw-manning what Sean and Elijah are talking about. They're talking about philosophical implications of being hypocritical in your stance and not being logically consistent, and he's taking it as they're endorsing Nick Fuentes and advocating for Nick Fuentes to come speak at these events. They're not. They're actually for these people doing what they want. If a conference wants to ban somebody, they're totally fine with them banning somebody. They just don't think that you should label yourself as a place that doesn't ban. You know, come to the anti-banning event. Oh, sorry, you're banned. You know, that's a hypocritical stance. He's looking for not having logical inconsistencies. It has nothing. Literally, this whole conversation had nothing to do with Nick Fuentes. We can totally take Nick Fuentes out of this conversation and add anybody else who's been canceled into that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Somebody who's not a white nationalist. It doesn't matter. You put anybody in there and it's the same conversation. And that's called being logically consistent. The thing is, this guy wouldn't be logically consistent. If say this happened to Hassan Piker and he got canceled from a thing that was anti-cancel culture thing, he would be like, look, they said they were anti-cancel culture, but they canceled Hassan, ha 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 ha, you know. But since it's Nick Fuentes, oh, how dare you stay consistent in this account? You know, you should always be against Nick Fuentes, even if it's logically consistent. It's total Dunning-Kruger moment. He doesn't
extrapolating what little bit I do know and assigning and mapping things onto him that aren't really true.
Oh yeah, you totally straw man. In fact, he does this to every conservative. Every conservative you see him talk to, and he'll do it to anybody he thinks is a conservative. He was doing it to me when I was talking to him and giving and trying and assuming that I would have these conservative stances to these arguments. And I was like, no, I'm not against that. I'm actually for UBI or something. And then he was trying to say I was anti-welfare when I wasn't. I'm actually pro-welfare. Like, what? And he was like saying all these things about me because he just assumes that from me. You know what I'm saying? That which are total straw men, which is what he's doing now. He's still he's straw manning these people the whole time and saying that they're having a conversation about something they're not having a conversation about. And adding words to things they said, like he was saying, oh, they should let Nick Fuentes. He didn't say that. That's not what the argument is.
Positions that he doesn't really hold. Yep. I'm not being good faith.
Yep. You're doing it right now. This is total bad faith.
It's not like
you're looking at this from a negative pool. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not coming in here and being charitable to what they're saying. Look, like we came in here, we watched this, and we're listening to what Sean's saying, and we're understanding what they're talking about, and we're saying, oh yeah, he's not promoting Nick Fuentes or saying these people should allow Nick Fuentes. What he's saying is that they're being inconsistent in their messaging and their stance. He never comes to that conclusion, right? He doesn't go here and go, man, this sounds a lot like he might be racist, but you know what? This could be an argument he's making from this point of view and blah, blah. He doesn't do that. He automatically goes to whatever the most negative thing could possibly be. And that's why he's sitting here and constantly says Sean is going mask off, even though Sean has always been consistent in his stance. This is not something new. He would say this about anyone. That's why I was saying it has nothing to do with Nick Fuentes. We could switch him out for anyone who's been canceled, and Sean would say the same thing, even if it's somebody he dislikes, somebody he doesn't want any affiliation with. Same thing. He's gonna repeat the same things because he's logically consistent. That's the whole point of it, is to be logically consistent.
It's like Nick Fuentes or anything. Literally, this motherfucker's exact goddamn words when referring to him.
He's not Nick Fuentes. He's not. When did he say he was a white nationalist? He's not Nick Fuentes. Like, what are you talking about?
Like Nick Fuentes or anything. Fast forward like 6 months,
and he's still not like Nick Fuentes.
Motherfuckers at Nick Fuentes speaking event in Dallas.
But how does that mean he's like Nick Fuentes? I'm confused. How does that mean that? So if like I went to a Bernie event, that means now I'm a socialist and I'm like Bernie now? And I'm like Bernie Sanders? Is that how it works? Like, that's weird. Yeah, that's really weird. How does that work then?
It's an event for everybody.
So then all any right-winger has to do to be a left-winger is to go to a left-winger event, and now you're going to think they're a left-winger, you know, regardless of their views, and you don't listen to their views and go, no, Nick Fuentes, he's not a right-winger. I saw him at a Bernie event. You know, he can't be a right winger. I saw him at a Bernie event. What are you talking about? What a stupid logical step he took there. This is what I'm talking about. This is the lack of charitability. He is on that front. He says if you go to an event like this, we should automatically assume the negative. We should automatically assume that you are there because you agree with that person. We shouldn't give you the benefit of the doubt. We should never be like, oh, excuse me, can I talk to you? Why are you at this event? We should never do that. We should just be like, we should just throw a shoe at their head, call them a racist, and walk away, you know, and not give them any chance to redeem themselves, to understand why they're there. They could be a journalist just trying to keep an eye on them. Nope, doesn't matter. Treat them like shit. Always think the negative. If you see somebody at a rally of something you disagree with, and that person agrees with that thing you disagree with, that's it. It's such a stupid logical step. It doesn't make any sense. And this is where I say he's super Dunning-Kruger. He thinks he's really good at this, but he's not. He thinks he's an expert at this, but he's so bad at it and so dumb at it that, you know, he's completely lost. That's where you see this confidence. He thinks it's true. He's like, oh, mask off. I feel so vindicated, he said. Ridiculous to feel vindicated from this. Sean hasn't said anything different. It's been totally logically consistent.
He's banned from payment processors, from Uber, from Airbnb. Flying. He's on the no-fly list. Like the guy didn't go into the Capitol building, and he's on the no-fly list.
This right now, this
like,
is just for me to just
what's happening to him at 21. Like how much of a life can you build in the future if the government can just put you on a no-fly list and freeze all your assets over you going to an event and not trespassing? Because remember, what people did in the Capitol mostly was trespassing, and he wasn't among them.
That's it. That's true too. All of this happened to Nick Fuentes afterwards, and Nick Fuentes never even went inside. The people who were in trouble were the people who went inside and were trespassing. Nick Fuentes never went inside.
Right, and that's the point about the thought crimes, is that it's like, well, his ideas are, they say his ideas are extreme. Bro, this is what I think is weird. Like you said, is that the left adopts their extremists, they put them into office, they use them as political tools to change the Overton window. So they actually take.
That's very true. That's why we have more progressives in the Democratic Party now than ever before.
What, AOC, fucking
Corey, yes, progressives, yes.
Bush.
This is the problem: is he can't leave his perspective. He's far left himself. So all these people that he's saying, who AOC, Cory Bush, they're far left. He doesn't understand that because they're at his position. So to him, they seem kind of centered. But that's the exact point. He doesn't even realize that's the exact point that Elijah's making, is those people, even though he doesn't see them as being extreme, those people are extreme and they are pushing the Overton window. Things that were thought of as being extreme before are now thought of as being not as extreme. You know, that's the whole point. The Overton window's moving, and he's not realizing this because he thinks. Remember when I spoke to him and I said Bernie Sanders was far left, he laughed. And I'm like, thinking about in politics, who's more left than Bernie Sanders in office right now? I can't think of anyone. You know what I'm saying? If there is, there's maybe one or two people. He's about as far left as you can go in office right now. You know, and he's laughing at me saying he's far left. It's like, who's more left than Bernie Sanders? Give me a couple of examples.
What power do any of these people have? Who are you talking?
He's not talking. That, see, you hear how he doesn't understand conversations. He's saying, what power do these people have? What are you talking about? He didn't say anything about these people being powerful. What he's saying is they're putting more and more of them into office, therefore, and giving them like a platform and giving them a lot of media coverage to push the Overton window. Has nothing to do with power. You don't need power to push the Overton window. You just need to normalize more extremist ideas on one side, and that pushes the window.
Talking about, I still want to know who are these radical leftists that are at these speaking.
I don't know if he said radical left. I think he might have said far left.
Events that the Democrats are hosting. I would love to know who these people are, because I would love to see these speeches.
Take far leftist extremists like AOC and Bernie Sanders and people who want these like far left socialist utopias. I would say the AOC is even way further left than Bernie, and they use.
Well, according to Elijah, AOC is more, but there's not many.
Their rhetoric, they don't pass any bills, they don't get anything done. They just use their rhetoric so that as they spew like their whole extremist ideas, that
see that he was saying the opposite of what. See how he paused it before, and he says, "What power do these people have?" Elijah just said they don't have power. That's not the point. You know, the point is to push the Overton window.
So the kind of extreme Democrats can get away with their bullcrap.
Yeah, so that when you push an extreme, now the less extreme but still kind of extreme Democrats get away with shit, right?
Keep pushing the world left. It's like, well, at least I'm not as extreme as AOC. See, I just want to, force every state to be able to ballot harvest, and it's like, that's very extreme to have the federal government intervene in state voting laws. That's very extreme, but it's not as extreme as
I don't think every Democrat's for that.
Exactly. What is that? Madison Cawthorn, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert.
Yeah, he's not saying that there aren't extreme elements on the right. What he's saying is media allows extreme. Isn't that what Elijah's argument started with, him saying the left adopts their extremists, right? Yeah, the right doesn't. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not viewed favorably by most Republicans. if you remember when Donald Trump was running for president, most Republicans were against him. Like, you know, they were trying to work against him, but the Republican people voted for him. So then they had to switch to support him in the end because he won the general election. But before that, all the Republicans were talking against him. Fox News was against him. You know what I'm saying? So this is what Elijah's saying, is the right that tries to distance itself from extremists as much as they can, where the left kind of adopts theirs, you know? And that's what Sean was talking about before, where in order to appease the left and avoid scandal and the left acting as if things are scandals for them affiliating or letting people talk or platforming people, they would rather violate their own principles, you know? And that's what Sean was bringing up. And it's like, maybe, you know, I guess a solution to that is not talking about either way what the solution is, but a solution to that is either stay consistent or don't preach values you're not going to stay consistent on.
What's his name? What's that other fucker?
See that this guy's doing it too. Left extremists compared to MTG and Bo Bear. That's like, but he's not saying that's not even the argument he's making.
A few, like they actually
you can name their extremists all you want. They don't adopt
like
them.
Q people, like the real crazies of the right in Congress right now.
Yes, just like there are really extreme far left people that he would consider far left extreme that he already mentioned in Congress right now. Like, that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is one side embraces their crazy and puts them on the spotlight, right? Like the left-wing media puts AOC up like an angel, puts Bernie up, you know, they put these people up in the spotlight. The DNC does it too. And Republicans don't. They don't put Marjorie Taylor Greene on spot. In fact, the left puts Marjorie Taylor Greene on spotlight more than the right does. You know, the left was talking about Donald Trump more than the right was. You know, like
scary how many of the motherfuckers won election. Okay, we're gonna wrap this
wanting
up.
to centralize all voting in the federal government or whatever. So they use their extremists to get away with stuff.
That's the point.
Our own extremists, and we get nothing back, and then we give leftists a platform at our own events. And that's why we continue to lose. And, you know, Fuentes brought up an interesting point. Is he said, you know, you're canceling me. You think I'm extreme. What about transgenders? They, you know, you guys promote Caitlyn Jenner, and I want to get into this. I ran into...
Okay. Now they're going to go down to Caitlyn Jenner, and we're going to talk about that too as well, but I don't give a shit what their thoughts are on it. I just want to... That was just my...
That's funny, because Sean could literally just come out and say... Nah, I'm totally cool with her talking there. I don't have a problem with Caitlyn Jenner talking. Which I'm sure he doesn't. That's funny that he doesn't want to hear what they have to say because Sean's not against. But he'd probably twist whatever he said to be against that anyway.
Yeah. Just like everything else.
Yeah, because that's what he does. That's what he's been doing the whole time.
Forever, at any point. And listen, the people who
this is
were...
so funny.
The lack of self-awareness justice warriors don't actually believe any of the shit that they're saying. They know what purpose he serves in the alt-right pipeline. They know
the alt-right pipeline. Imagine Sean being part of the alt-right pipeline. That's so funny.
They appreciate it, they support it, they advocate for it. They know exactly.
When did he advocate or support anything alt-right? What is he talking about? What
this is about? Okay. This is to the kind of on the fencers. Like, honestly, who this is really to, honestly, is to people on the left. What really disappointed me over the last few months while I was gone is I watched
gone for a few months.
SJW go on Twitch panels with other leftists who
he
or at least people on the left, maybe not necessarily leftists, maybe liberals, whatever. But people on the left in general, who I have a degree of respect for and things like that.
Get completely wrecked by Sean.
Was really disappointed to watch how little they called Sean on a lot of his dog whistling when they had
dog whistling. You know why they didn't call him on that? Because dog whistling is an ad hom, bro. And they would have lost the argument for saying that, because even if you say dog whistle, that doesn't mean you've debunked the argument. That's just an ad hom.
When they had that debate with Tyler Bluntman and I Hypocrite, that whole shit show. Like, there's been several instances now where people have.
Why would they call him out with the thing with I Hypocrite? Sean was against him using that word and being against the rules there. Like,
yeah.
How was that? Don't you agree with that? Like, doesn't he agree with that? Sean was for kicking him out of the stream. He wasn't against it. Don't you agree with that? Like, what was wrong with that part? Like, what?
And talking to him, and honestly, like, okay, for example,
this is why a dude like this doesn't go on those shows, and he would lose every time, because this is why he
Riley
loses his cool, because he doesn't know how to argue.
Love her to death. No hard feelings, hon. But
no hard feelings, hon. Yeah.
I was so disappointed in how you and Destiny handled him in the CRT debate.
What do you mean, like how he wrecked them because they couldn't argue against him?
There was a lot of shit that y'all let him slide on.
They didn't let him slide on. They didn't have arguments against it.
Because he knew that y'all hadn't researched it the way he had, so he had a lot of talking points that he was.
He didn't know that. He just came in knowing what he was talking about. Came in confidently. He didn't know that they didn't research it as much as he had. And I don't think that's even true, because Riley Grace in the thing said she spent 2 weeks studying it for the debate. She didn't say she came in not studied. She said in the hours and hours of reading I did about this and blah, blah, blah. So that's
slide
not true.
Past y'all and were never pushed back on, and it was frustrating the fucking shit out of me.
That's why you suck in those situations, because you would have pushed back on things that he wasn't saying, and you would have looked stupid, and he would have dunked on you.
He was just bold-faced, just lying. But you
what's lying? How is arguing something lying? Like, how does that work? I don't even understand what he's saying.
Calling him on it because you didn't know to call him on it, and
what?
there were a lot.
I would love to see him doing
that throughout that debate too.
That
a lot of people that you and
Destiny probably does not agree with you that those are dog whistles, and he probably wouldn't even use that phrase anyway. He would probably try to argue those points instead of just calling them dog whistles.
To click with Destiny kind of caught the him refusing to call it African American vernacular English, and him just keep saying ebonics over and over again.
But that's what we call it.
Destiny kind of picked up on that. Riley didn't, so much so to where when she did a stream and she talked like reviewing that debate, and she talked to Joe Lewis had to tell her, like, hey, that was some hellified dog whistling.
Why is that? Why is calling it ebonics dog whistling? That's what it was called, especially in the 90s when I was growing up. That's what we called it. That's what black people called it. Like, how is that dog whistling? What did they talk about?
On that goddamn debate, and had to like walk her through like
what?
Why?
That's
what he was saying was dog whistling, and like the different points that he lied about.
He didn't lie about any points. That didn't happen.
She didn't pick up on and catch, and just how he mischaracterized things, and just
yeah, right.
None
of that happened.
People on the left will see.
They're just like I said. This is a more Dunning-Kruger shit. He thinks this is what he thinks that's what happened when it didn't happen. It's a total Dunning-Kruger situation.
And be like, oh, okay, I know how to treat you now going forward, because it seems like they were handling him like he was in good faith.
He was in good faith. Sean always enters his debate in good faith. What about his art? What about him was not good faith? It's all good faith. The thing is, these people, this is the thing about non-charitability, is these people don't have charity. So they think, say Sean says something in a debate and it's wrong, which can happen, you know, sometimes he's wrong. If it's wrong, they think he's lying. And it's like, no, he just was incorrect about something. That's not lying. That's a different thing. You being wrong about something isn't being in bad faith. You know what I'm saying? And it's funny because Sean debates all these people, and in those debates, when you watch them, this is how uncharitable these people are, is you'll always see Sean make concessions to the other person and be like, okay, oh yeah, that's true. And he makes concessions to them. They never do the same for him. But yet this guy still looks at Sean as being the bad faith one, when I bet you any money he made concessions in that debate, and Riley probably made way less concessions than he did, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe this will wake somebody up. Maybe. I know there's a handful of people.
Because it's really bad.
I know people like me, Lance, actual Jake, like they see through his shit, and a few other people, but like Brenton Lingle.
He said Lance sees through somebody's shit. Lance is full of shit himself, and I've made many videos talking about how Lance is super full of shit, super dumb, and does not keep consistent arguments.
We're getting there. Though,
super inconsistent. This guy's talking about debates. Lance loses almost every debate he goes into. Like, I've never seen Lance win a debate.
I feel like he's getting more confident. Like the fact that he's even doing this,
confident. He's just as confident.
Tells me he's getting more confident in the things that he's.
Oh my god, he must be talking about himself.
Wow. Remember when he used to have that shitty font, and then he switched it for this less shitty but still shitty font? So funny. But yeah. Oh well, yeah. I think that was done. But it's really funny how these people act this way. They don't. It has to be a lack of self-awareness, right? Like, they don't realize what they're doing. Do you think, this is always my question, do you think this guy literally believes this stuff? And he's seriously convinced he's that dumb that he can't critically think or be charitable in any way, that he really thinks the things he's saying is true? Or does he know about the manipulation and disingenuousness of the arguments he's making? And that he knows he's twisting and strawmanning these arguments, like
of SJW guy.
Yeah, that's the same thing I ask about Lance all the time too. Like, is Lance really that dumb, and he actually believes the things he's saying, or is he being manipulative? Because like, we watch that and we look at it and we're like, how did he come to that conclusion? Like, we're lost as to how he came to a conclusion from something that Sean said, and we know Sean, right? Like, we talk to him almost every day. Like, we know him super well, and yet we watch this, and this guy listens to what Sean's saying just as we do, and he comes to a specific conclusion, no doubt to a point where he's super confident about his conclusion, where he's saying, that's it, mask off, I feel so vindicated, you know? But we watch it, and we're like, how did he come to that conclusion? Nothing of what Sean says leads to that conclusion. Why is he coming to that conclusion? And that's what leads me to say, like, is he... You know, there is a chance that that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That that's just what his content is, for him to lie and manipulate situations, you know? Because, like I said, this is my concept of what these people are like, progressives especially, and people who are like far left content creators and stuff. I feel they over-exaggerate things on purpose. I feel that as being activists in what they do, as opposed to just being for the art of it, or because you entertain it as a hobby or a job, their main goal is to be activists. So most activists have the concept of by any means necessary. So is it like, is that his means necessary? Is saying, like, I have to twist what he's saying and try to get whatever I can out of what he's saying to twist it into a way that I can make him look racist and make him look like he's promoting Nick Fuentes, you know? So I can continue my activism, you know.
For Lance, I think he's lazy and really stubborn.
Yeah, he is very lazy. He doesn't look up very many things properly.
Like, he pauses things too quickly, thinking that he can predict what somebody's going to say, but he's just...
Well, this guy does that too.
So wrong.
There's a couple times in this, I remember when we first found this dude, and he was making videos about Sean. Remember, a lot of the times he would pause it and say shit that Sean was going to say something, and then he would play it, and Sean would say the exact opposite of what he said, right? He's like, this guy, you know, he's trying to predict what Sean was going to say as a conservative, but then Sean would say a completely different thing.
For SJW guy, I think that he's just, like, he really has, like, a hate boner for Sean.
Yeah,
like,
I think he does.
It's like he refuses to hear that Sean's making a point. He has to...
Yeah, Sean made a legitimate point there. It was completely legitimate. There was no reason to think... And there was no reason to think that he was promoting...
no, like, they both
promoting
the same
Nick Fuentes at that point. Like, that's weird that he came to that conclusion. I don't even know how he did. Because at no point did Sean say, Nick Fuentes, you know, should be allowed to talk, and, you know, conventions shouldn't be able to ban anybody. He was talking about the logical inconsistencies of promoting it as, calling it America Uncanceled, you know, like, they're literally promoting it as one thing and then acting a completely different way.
Saying that Sean should hate Nick Fuentes, even though Sean was just defending him not because he likes Nick Fuentes, because I can't believe that needs to be said.
No, Sean says multiple times with his points. He says whether you like him or not. That's kind of the point. Like, even though I don't like him, I can say that he made a good argument. Like, that's what he's saying.
Like, he makes it clear that it's like the point of the event was for like the people that have been like taken off deplatformed and stuff like that. And he can't even like focus on that part to see the point that Sean was making there.
It's weird, but that's what he does. That's where I made this point to him last time, and we made this point many times watching this dude. Is really a big part of it is the uncharitability. Like, he hears what he hears because he has those ideas in his head already. Like, he's looking for things for Sean to call him a racist. That's what he's looking for. So I think Sean that Sean says that he might remotely think, oh, this might be taking his back. Oh, this might be a dog whistle. You know, any little tiny thing that he can grasp onto, he's gonna grab and be like, oh, this is it. This is the one. You know, because he's looking for it. So he's gonna look for it and look and see it in things that it's not there for. You know, just because he's looking for it so badly that he wants to catch it.
Because, like, I'm sure,
but so
I bet it would be like the exact same way that it would go down if SJW were to talk about this in particular. He would do the exact same thing where he'd get frustrated and just sit there with like a stoned, like, sourpuss face because he's been proven wrong about something. But he refuses to like admit he was wrong. He has to just hate Sean.
We know Sean. Like, when does Sean like Nick Fuentes or agree with Nick Fuentes on most things? Like, he doesn't at all. He fucking makes fun of grapers. We've made fun of grapers many times. He's made fun of grapers in his videos. Oh my god. Actually, I'm gonna ask him. I wonder if he has. I think he has made fun of grapers in his videos. That'd be funny. Maybe I'll do a super cut mixing this guy's video with Sean talking about how he's against grapers. He's not a fan of grapers.
Yeah.
But anyways, we went through that stuff. That was fun. We did a lot of streaming.
Yeah, had fun.
Yeah, I had fun. Those were some funny videos. Shoe versus Hunter was fun. The whole DillGill thing. And SJW9000
for Hunter to get a win.
Yeah. Oh my god, leave it to Shoe to give Hunter a win in a debate. Oh my god, that was so bad. I mean, it's fine for her to be bad in debate. She admits she's bad at it, so it's fine for her to be bad at it. But maybe just don't do it. Maybe just give up.
Yeah.
You know. Well, all right. Thanks for watching, guys. Whoever's still watching. That was fun.